Are you ready to connect with distinguished Nigerians around the world? The Diaspora Perspective is here to share the views of Nigerians in the diaspora on burning issues.
From the street of New York, the royal cities of London, and the bustling cities of Europe, Voice of the People Television brings to you a roundtable and collage of interesting views from Nigerians in diaspora.
Join the host of the show and some Nigerians in diaspora, Dr. Damages, the flagship, show, and KJ, as they discuss the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of Nigerians living abroad.
Discussing and analyzing everything from politics, culture, policies, career success, and how Nigerians are staying connected to their roots. Showing every Saturday by 2 p.m. West African Time and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The Diaspora Perspective, giving a voice to Nigerians abroad.
Hello there, good afternoon, and welcome to another interesting edition of the Diaspora Perspective Show, home and abroad on Voice of the People Television. Oh well, today happens to be the last Saturday before the Christmas. And I use this opportunity to, on behalf of the backroom staff, the show producer, the tech team, and everybody that is involved in producing this show, we wish our panelists, both at home and diaspora, our numerous viewers worldwide, a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year. I'm Chukwuma Okoro, and I'm going to be guiding you through the show in the next 2 hours. We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube page. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. You can also visit our website for other interesting stories. We are at www.vop.ng. You can also be part of this conversation by calling in or sending WhatsApp messages to the number showing on your screen. The number is 0904 473 2605. I'll take that again. 0904 473 2605. Today we'll be looking at big stories, that made it within the week in Nigeria. As Nigeria budgets 47.9 trillion naira with a proposed borrowing of 13 trillion naira and 15.89 trillion naira for debt servicing. We'll move away from that and we'll talk about NNPCL's $1 billion investment in Dangote refinery, which has sparked dispute. There's been this back and forth between the NNPCL and Dangote refinery. You gave us money, you didn't give us, and all of that. You're supposed to have given us crude and all of that. We'll talk about that extensively. We'll also talk about the Edo House of Assemblies that suspended 18 local government chairmen. But it's interesting to also let you know that a court in Benin revised the suspension and said that, look, no court, no government, no House of Assembly has the authority to suspend local government chairmen. Anyway, we'll also delve into that discussion. I'm joined in the studio by Mr. Shegu Shopweta. Shegu Shopweta is Chairman, Accountability, Candor, and Transparency Network. And we are joined virtually by Dr. Damages. Dr. Damages is a satirist, writer, journalist, and adjunct professor at the School of Visual Arts in New York City, United States of America. We also have Flagship. Flagship is a clinical research operations lead and business entrepreneur based in Atlanta in Georgia. We also have KJ, who has already joined us. These gentlemen have joined us. KJ is a media production expert and involved in training and joined from Maryland, United States of America. Oh, well, gentlemen, you are welcome to the show. Shegu, good to have you again.
Good to be here.
You were missing in action last week.
I missed you guys.
Okay, good to have you. Gentlemen from the diaspora, good afternoon and welcome once again to this show. Dr. Damages.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chukwuma. Nice to be here.
Flagship, good afternoon or good morning.
Good morning from Atlanta and happy holidays to everyone.
Okay, KJ, good to have you. Good afternoon, KJ.
Good to see you again, sir. From Maryland, here we greet you.
All right, thanks very much, gentlemen. Now, before we move to the main topics of discussion, let's look at other interesting and trading stories. Big stories, you might say, that happened in Nigeria as Ademola Lookman wins African Footballer of the Year award. I think that's a bit of a good news, coming from Nigeria as Ademola Lookman and Baba Banga were named the 2024 Men and Women's African Footballer of the Year, respectively, on Monday. We'll move away from that, and we'll also talk about Nigerians paid 2.2 trillion naira as ransom in 12 months, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Now, on December 17, the National Bureau of Statistics disclosed that Nigerians paid a total of 2.2 trillion naira as ransom over the 12 months between May 2023 and April 2024. This amount was paid by households impacted by kidnapping, underscoring the increasing danger posed by criminal activities in the country. Also, within the week, Wike revoked FCT lands belonging to former President Buhari, former Chief Justice of Nigeria, the sitting Speaker of the House of Representatives, and other top politicians numbering more than 765. Now, there's a big story about what happened in Ibadan over the week as 35 children were killed in a crush at a Christmas fun fair in the southwest Nigerian city of Ibadan, with 6 others hospitalized, according to the police. Now, the organizers had promised to give cash handouts and also food, but so many people turned up and there was a crush as they struggled to gain entry. Residents said that over 5,000 children had gathered at the venue, and the crush occurred when the main organizers arrived to start the event. Away from that, we have a breaking story that in Abuja, 10 people also feared to have died because they had gone to also collect handouts, at an activity organized by the Catholic Church in Maitama. And the things, according to the leadership, the tragic incident happened during a palliative distribution exercise organized by the church, that is the Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Maitama, Abuja, to provide relief for struggling residents nearby that location. That is not all. Somewhere in Anambra State, news just filtered in, we are yet to confirm that, but the news filtered in that 27 people are also feared dead, arising from a stampede also when a certain philanthropist, decided to share palliatives to people in Ihiala. And the question is, what's going on? Gentlemen, I'd like for us to take some minutes to chime in on this interesting story. Shegu, let me start with you here. What's going on? Ibadan, Abuja, Ihiala in Anambra State. Does that speak to the level of poverty in the land?
It's very alarming,
Within a space of 4 days.
Especially given these updates that you've provided. If it was just the Ibadan one, that was bad enough as it were. Losing 35 children because somebody was trying to help, so to speak, So when that was the news, I was thinking, oh, look, we need to address our respect for processes, the impunity with which the elites tend to go about things. How come, there was so much carelessness that allowed the stampede? How come the organization was so poor? But when you now find that what happened in Ibadan has also happened, where did you say, Kano? Or somewhere in the north? Abuja. And somewhere in the east as well. So we have somewhere in the north, we've got somewhere in the west, we've got somewhere in the east. That means the entire country has been covered by this very unfortunate trend. And that means that the issue is deeper than just organizational prowess of the people that are putting this together. It means that they were overwhelmed by the number of people that came forward, relative to the number of people they were expecting. That's the only logical conclusion you can arrive at, since there's a consistent trend. And that speaks, like you said, to the very terrible state of the Nigerian economy and the impoverization, the pauperization of the people of this country by the current administration,
and
by the very, very
it's just the 21st of December.
And it's not even Christmas yet.
It's not even Christmas yet.
So I think that these are very, very sad, very strong, touching indicators that the president needs to look at and address. So this now goes beyond giving speeches. He gave a speech, he gave an address or a press release when the 35 children died in Ibadan. So is he going to give another speech now? So I think we've gone beyond speeches, and we need to start asking what the fundamental questions, what's going on? Why is this happening with such, over the space of 4 days, we've had 3 incidents where we've lost about 50 lives, young Nigerian futurists, so to speak. It's very unfortunate, and I think that the president needs to look very, very hard in the mirror at himself, and ask himself very difficult questions.
All right, is that all about the banters? Okay, let's bring in our diasporans. KJ, can we have your take on any of those 4 issues that we talked about. You can also chime on briefly on each and every one of them, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me?
Very well, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I have listened to, I've followed all the issues that you have, discussed earlier or you have presented. It's quite unfortunate, and it's not going to be the last, because in the place where we are right now, before you put an organization together that will bring in people, there are many precautions that are put in place. I'll give you an example. I go to a church that we are less than, in fact, if we are everybody come together, will be maybe about 250. But there are protocols that are put right at the door, how many exits there needs to exist in that place. Those exits must be checked and they are functional, and it's clearly written exit, so that in an emergency, you have places where people can use to escape. That's one. Two, there are maximum number of people, even though the hall can take up to 500, but they have been limited to 300. In other words, you have space for people to be able to move and free themselves if just in case there happen to be an incident that people need to get away. There is fire extinguishers. There is water. And then when you have a large crowd, the police is always present. If you're going to get a large crowd as much as 5,000 people, the police will be there. The fire service will be there. The ambulance will be there. Everybody will be there, because you don't know what may happen. Somebody can be fainting, it may not even be stampede. It could just be that somebody has an emergency, health emergency. They'll be there to attend. Those things were taken into cognizance. But I'm surprised. It's not the first time. Remember, there was a time they invited for interview in Abuja with new intakes of internal revenue, internal service. What is it called now? Immigration service. Now, immigration service, people, young men, people who are just left, university, where, most of them, some of them lost their lives, and some still suffering the effect of that till today. Nothing was done. Nobody was brought into, to bear, nobody took responsibility, apart from the minister then, who just, made casual statement. These things cannot continue like that. We are supposed to be human beings, learning from every experience we pass through. Unfortunately, the system don't seem to learn, and nobody's going to, even for this one, nobody's going to be held accountable. It's so unfortunate. And sometimes I begin to think that maybe there's other ulterior motive, but I don't want to say it, because that is speculation. But it just doesn't make sense that you're losing your young ones, your men, your women on daily basis, and you're not concerned, about what to do. Then coming to the one of the, people 2 something trillion being paid for kidnap. Look, go check it. The total budget was 27 trillion. Okay, so if 2 something goes to kidnappers, it's even much more than the one allocated to the Nigerian Federal Police, which means that maybe we better discard the police and use the bandits now to become police, because they seem to be more effective in collecting revenue from Nigerian people. These are things that should worry any normal government. These are things that are taken from your tax money, from the people's welfare, from the people's education, from the people's, every form of, social development, taken from the people, without any accountability. You yourself as a government, you're not going to get any tax from that 2 something trillion naira that is taken from the people, and you keep docile about it. So something must be right, just like our brother there in the studio said. Something is going on where we do not know, and then we don't want to speculate, but something really, really is going on that Nigerians should be more concerned about. I'll stop there for now, sir.
All right, thanks very much, KJ. Now, Flagship, can we have your quick text, please?
Let me start by first expressing my condolences to all the families that suffered loss during this event that was designed and meant to be good for the people of Ibadan, Abuja, and the other city that you mentioned. My hearts go out to them, and I hope that God gives them the fortitude to bear the loss of their loved ones this Yuletide season. It's unfortunate that this happened. Like the panelist in the studio said, it speaks to tell you of the state of the nation as it is, how poor we have become, that little handouts Stampede, of course, because everybody wants to make sure that they get something to take home because they don't have anything at home at all. This is a big shame to our nation. It's not the first time that we're having fun fairs of this nature. I remember back in the day, we used to have this kind of things. It go on peacefully and quietly because the people had enough. It's just the few that want to come out to get the excitement of having to be there to see Santa Claus or be a part of the Christmas get together that come out. But when you have such a massive turnout, it tells you that the nation, well, the people are hungry, there is poverty in the land. And the spectrum between those that are doing well and those that are poor is too wide. I think the government should begin to do a rethink and figure out ways to get ease on the people, not just for the Yuletide season, but beyond now. And also, I would like to say that to the organizers, I know that poor planning may have been a part of this. Like KJ mentioned, everything is stated is what applies here in the Western world. If there's going to be such a mammoth crowd, there has to be some sort of huge control where every arm of law enforcement and emergency services are present to be sure that they are able to control anything of this nature that happens. So again, my heart go out to them and condolences. And I hope that the Queen, Naomi, is released from custody. What she designed was meant to be good for the children and the families, but it turned out to result in this way. I don't think it's her fault. So they should tamper this with some mercy and respect for her too. For the two Nigerians that stood out, well-deserved trophies for them. It tells you that when you give Nigerians the enabling environment, we have so much in us that we can shine as stars. We are all stars in Nigeria, but at this time we're being oppressed. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of these great achievers in Nigeria who just need an enabling environment to be able to shine their stars. So my hearts go out to them, and thanks to them for making their stars shine. And fortunately, Nigeria is claiming part of the glory. With reference to Wike and the lands that he's revoking their licenses, this is what I have to say. What is good for the goose is also good for the gander. So I hope Wike will go ahead, push forward, reclaim these lands that belong to these top Nigerians, and do what he does to the ordinary Nigerians to them. I'm waiting to see the aftermath of this story. With reference to the 2 trillion naira payment, I don't know why the Nigerian government think this is a trophy that they have to announce. It's shameful enough to see that you're unable to curb the insecurity in the nation, and you're telling the world that such a huge amount was paid to them as ransom. It's not a trophy that should be displayed. So I hope they begin to rethink this time. The budget, of course, gives a huge amount to security. So let's hope that next year they do something good to curb this situation.
Okay, Flagship, stand with you. The Statistician General, was invited by the DSS, to come and explain the method he used, the survey method he used to arrive at that figure. Do you think that this Statistician General was a bit careless in releasing such information? Does it bother, or was it a breach of national security?
I think he was very careless. He really didn't think what his response was before he uttered it out. And I would bury my head in the sand if I were in his shoes. This is not something that should be let out. And don't forget that every time they refuse to tell us if ransoms were paid to kidnappers or bandits who kidnap Nigerians. The 2 trillion naira that they are reported today, it didn't come out from the pockets of Nigerians alone. I bet you, if the government wants to be truthful, a huge chunk of that money was paid by the government.
Exactly the point. So
yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Was it okay? Like the government should be embarrassed that that kind of thing is happening, and it's coming out from a government-owned agency.
They should be hugely embarrassed to even say that at all. And Nigerians, well, at this point we are numb, so we can't even respond to that. I think it's a big, huge embarrassment. And lastly, speaking of the IGP, instead of talking about things that are meaningful to his office and how he's going to help the Nigerian people. I'm not sure if you heard him make the statement that they will start arresting any Nigerian that insults any member or any politician moving forward. It's such a huge loose comments that come out of the mouth of the IGP. He's well due for retirement. I think he needs to step down at this point.
All right, thanks very much, Flagship. Now, let's bring in Dr. Damages into this conversation. Dr. Damages, can we have your quick takes on any of these 4 topics? Or, if you don't mind, chime in on the 4 of them, as you like. Quick one.
So much, Chukuma. I'm really sad about the situation in Anambra State. Yesterday, we were talking about what happened in Ibadan. And today is Anambra, and I understand that something also happened in Abuja. And it's all about the desperate situation that Nigerians have been put into by this administration. During the budget presentation, Tinubu said that the time for lamentation is over. It appears as if we are entering a new era of widespread lamentation, which is sad. What pains me about the stories of Nigeria is that what we have today, we are going to revisit in weeks and months to come. The same thing, and nothing is done to stop them from reoccurring. That is where we have to focus on. But we don't. Somehow we think we can maneuver our way. We can avoid the consequences of not preparing, of not following the best practice. We think we are exceptional. We are different. The people who are very immaculate in their planning are stupid people. The people who care about the fact that we don't have ambulances, we don't have fire trucks, we don't have emergency system, and it's okay. We think it's okay. We will make it through. We will survive. It's not okay. It will never be okay. You can't live in the 21st century where you have the kind of population you have across Nigeria, across the world, and avoid these things. I'm not sure in my local government area in Anambra State that you can call 911 and somebody will come and rescue you. You can call an emergency number and people can come and rescue you in 5 minutes. There will be an ambulance that will come and save you in 5 minutes. Until we're able to do that, there is no reason why you should spend billions fixing the home of the vice president or the president. There's no reason spending billions buying plates for the president when there is no ambulance, one, for a local government area in Nigeria. There's no reason for that. We misplace our priorities. Somehow we think God will help us solve the problem. No. God will not. God doesn't solve your problem, the one you can solve. It pains me. And we're going to talk about this another 6 months from now, 3 months, 7 months. Now, let me say this. This is really something that is actionable for Nigerians. So your government has failed. True, we agree, we know. So you have to step up. Nigerians have to step up. Let me give you an example. Here in America, people have issues. There used to be a time when people would get drunk and go and kill people, driving and kill people. You know what happened? The government was not moving as fast as people wanted change. What happened? People came together, mothers who lost children from drunk drivers came together and formed Mothers Against Drunk Driving. You know what they did? They became lobbyists. They keep pushing on government, lawmakers, and they change the laws. And that is how societies transform. If your government has failed the way the Nigerian government failed, people must stand up and say, no, we have to do something. You can do something. 2 or 3 people can do something. Start small. Otherwise, everybody will die. That's it. If it's not true Stampede, it will be something. Poisoning of food, people making drinks at home and selling to people. People have to wake up and say, what can I do to fix things? Forget about the government. It failed you. That's it.
All right. Thanks very much, Dr. Damages. It's good that you mentioned about lobbying, as murders, against drunk driving. Unfortunately, what we have here is a total contrast. Let me bust your bubble now. Are you aware that there is in Nigeria, here in Lagos State, what is called Yahoo Boys Mothers Association, and their main duty is that any time any of their children is arrested, what they just do is go to that police station, go and mobilize to ensure that the person is let go from that police station. Are you aware of that?
Part of what I'm talking about. So they are setting that in place to achieve a negative end.
Exactly.
So what is needed is for people who are on the positive side to set up that kind of system to achieve a positive end.
All right.
It can be done.
Okay.
People should not feel helpless the way they have been feeling helpless in these situations. Nobody's coming to help you. Just know that nobody's coming to help you.
Like they say, heaven help those who help themselves. Oh, well, thank you very much, Dr. Damages. Chogi, you wanted to chime in?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I had the disadvantage of starting first, and I didn't realize I was supposed to talk about the other
Yes, I said
topics. Yes, I realized it after all. So I'll just like to kind of provide a bit of a different context to the issue, especially the ransom payment issue.
Okay.
Right? I think it's important for us to acknowledge that data is never your enemy. Data is data, right? And it's what you do with the data that makes the difference at the end of the day.
Even when it looks like it's breaching national security?
I don't think so. I don't see any national security issue there. The people that are involved in the ransom-taking business have been involved in it for a while, and it's an ecosystem they know themselves. That information is not going to make things worse by attracting more people into it or make things better by, I don't know. I think the only thing that data does is to present to us the stark reality of our problem so that policymakers can take action. The situation where we're being told that, oh, things are improving, security is improving, and yet in 2024 alone, just from ransom taking alone, that type of exchange has happened. It means that the National Security Advisor and the President and the other members of the security architecture needs to take this problem a bit more seriously. So asking the DSS, asking the Statistician General to come and explain himself, I was a bit taken aback by that. The MBS is a federal government agency charged, with the responsibility of providing data so that the government can govern more effectively based on statistical evidence.
Some people have argued that wasn't it proper for the SG, that's the Statistician General, to run that report by the NSA, by the National Security Advisor, before making it public?
Why didn't that happen? So again, that also perhaps points to a lack of coherence in the workings of government institutions and agency, and that's a leadership problem.
Some people have also argued that probably if he had done that, the NSA would just kill it. And the issue of faith is that, do Nigerians deserve to know that this amount of money
Don't we? And I don't think that a chunk of that money came from government, because government rarely pays ransom for people. At the end of the day, they will leave those people there to die. That money came from the pockets of Nigerians who had to sell their houses, sell their cars. A lot of Nigerians have been ruined by this thing. And I think that we will be deceiving ourselves if we're hiding from that reality and say, which national security? The real national security problem is that people are being kidnapped. You can't travel on Nigerian roads safely. Look, I just came back from the east. I went to Enugu and I had to travel from Enugu to Nsukka. Between that 1 hour stretch, there were, I'm not exaggerating, it couldn't have been less than 50 checkpoints. 1 hour stretch, just about maybe 100 kilometers. 50 checkpoints, army, police, special DRS, they call them DRS. Yeah? And when I was asking the guy that was taking us, he was like, look, we're happy with them. They should be there. Why? Because of the security problem, that this kidnapping issue had become an epidemic, and it is only the presence of these guys that has saved them, and they now feel safe to travel on those roads. I came all the way from Lagos. Imagine if I got kidnapped. So I don't think there's a national security issue with that data. I think the national security problem is the fact that this thing keeps happening across the country. You can't travel from Abuja to Kaduna now. You'll be praying. So I think that's the real issue. What this data is simply saying to us is that we have an existential crisis on our hands that, as usual, is drowned under the cover of the enormity of the many other problems that we're facing. So the data is good. It's what we do with it that we need to think about. You know, I just wanted to chime that.
Yes, it's good that you did so, because the government has always also come out to say that it's a crime to pay ransom. While we understand that most times government also pay ransom, because we saw documents, you know, that were leaked that showed that, look, even the government was saying we have to pay these people.
Yeah, I mean,
every month,
if a government,
keep them at bay.
Yeah, if a government official or operative gets picked up, and as it happens on a couple of occasions, of course the money is going to come from the government coffers.
Oh, well, that's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And gentlemen, thanks so much for a very fantastic and quick takes on the trending stories in Nigeria. Now, let's get into the first major topic of discussion. In December 2024, that's within this month, President Bola Tinubu presented Nigeria's 2025 budget proposal, totaling 47.9 trillion naira. Now, this ambitious plan includes a projected revenue of 34.82 trillion naira and a deficit of 13.13 trillion naira, which the government intends to finance through borrowing. Now, the key highlights of the 2025 budget proposal include total expenditure for 7.9 trillion, marking a 36.8% increase from the 2024 budget. Revenue projection, 34.82 trillion naira. Budget deficit, 13.13 trillion naira, representing 3.89% of Nigeria's gross domestic product, that's GDP. Borrowing plan, the deficit is to be financed through borrowing. Now, sectoral allocations, defense and security, 4.91 trillion naira. Infrastructure, 4.06 trillion naira. Education, 3.52 trillion naira. Healthcare, 2.48 trillion naira. The proposed budget is based on key assumptions, including an oil price benchmark of $75 per barrel, daily production of 2.06 million barrels per day, and an exchange rate of 1,400 naira to the dollar. Now, economic experts have expressed concerns over the budget's feasibility, particularly regarding the substantial borrowing plan and the potential impact on economic growth and infrastructure financing. The National Assembly is expected to review and approve the budget in the coming months. Now, within the week, we had a certain man say that, look, the National Assembly, you know, should not just pass this budget as it is, that they should tinker with it. Let me start with you, Sheikh, but before I come to you, let me announce that we've been joined by Forefathers. Forefathers is joining us from UK. He's an engineer with interest in strategic studies and political development. Forefathers, good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Greetings. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks very much and welcome. We'll come back to you. Now, Shegu, what's your reaction? What's your big take on this budget, 2025 budget?
I think the first thing that we need to quickly bust is when the government somehow is flying the idea that this is an ambitious budget. I think that's a joke. It's not an ambitious budget at all. In fact, we've retrogressed. You know, you'll be surprised.
I mean, the government could say it's ambitious because we moved from 27 to 47.
Yes, in Naira. But what's the exchange rate today? So what I've done is I've done a comparative analysis.
Okay, let's have
in dollar terms, because look, our economy is benchmarked against the US dollar, whether we like it or not. The revenues that is going to fund that budget is earned in dollars, right? In dollar terms, Chukuba, you'll be shocked to find that in dollar terms, the 2025 budget, based on official exchange rate as of today, is 30.9. So let's say $31 billion. Last year, based on official exchange rate, our budget was 20.5. So let's call it $21 billion. So you'll say, oh, that's a jump, right? But however, you have to remember that 2024 budget, sorry, that's this year's budget, right? Is that small because of the jump in exchange rate. Go back to 2023 when this president came on board. The previous administration's 2023 budget at the official exchange rate was $39 billion. So $39 billion in 2023, and we're budgeting $30 billion or $31 billion in 2025, and we say it's ambitious. Sorry, I don't agree. 2022 at official exchange rate was $37 billion. Official. If I use parallel rate, it's a completely different picture.
It could be ambitious according to them because defense got a large chunk of it.
Look, those figures are paltry. They are nowhere near enough. For Nigeria to say we're presenting an ambitious budget, I would say that we shouldn't be budgeting less than $200 billion, maybe $250 billion, in order for us to begin to scratch the surface of the problems that we face as a country.
So where will we get all that revenue from?
That's the question that the president needs to be asked. Is he not a revenue master? Was that not?
So
was that not
he's
the
done
mantra?
what within his limits. He says 47 is ambitious.
I'm sorry, it's not. They're not doing anything. This is business as usual. Now, let me give you a shocking comparative analysis. Right? Ghana, budget per capita of Ghana, $89 per capita. Ghana 2024 budget. Right? South Africa, per capita budget, $6,700. Looking at the budget size and the population size, because they are very, very related. The size of your budget will determine how well you are able to provide the infrastructure and the services that you need to take care of your population. South Africa, $6,700. Guess how much Nigeria is? $134 per capita. This budget that we call ambitious is $134 per capita. Ghana is $89 per capita. South Africa is $6,700 per capita. It's multiples of our budget. There is nothing ambitious about this budget. This administration has come on board to say they have the wizardry of revenue generation. I'm not seeing it at all. There has been, look, let's not be deceived by any of the propaganda.
Okay.
Nothing has changed. It has been business as usual. Maybe when the tax bill comes into effect.
Okay. I was coming to that.
When the tax bill comes into effect,
okay,
maybe we'll begin to see some revenue growth that can then drive, proper budgeting that can take care of our infrastructure needs.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Shegu. I'll come to you on the point of what this administration stands for Nigerians going forward or looking ahead. Now, let's bring in our brothers from diaspora. Forefathers, let me start with you. Welcome to this show once again. Nigeria's 2025 budget proposal for 7.9 trillion naira with 13.1 trillion naira for borrowing, that is to be borrowed, and 15.89 trillion naira to service debts. Can you help us paint a picture, an economic outlook of what Nigeria will look like in the next year? I mean, as it's going to affect the standard of living of the average Nigerian. Can you help us paint that picture?
Thank you for the question. Regarding the implications of the national budget, clearly it's not designed for a nation that is moving forward. However, in terms of the actual question regarding the outlook for the next year, because of the strategic change that has occurred with the Dangote refinery coming on stream, and if the Port Harcourt refinery is functional according to the way the federal government has described it, then chances are that our foreign exchange demand will come down, and that should put pressure on the naira to increase in value. In other words, the naira value should get stronger. And if that happens, Nigerians will get a little bit of respite. But I'm not very certain that will happen, because what I've seen with the government, like the guest just described, is that they are running a country down, and they don't seem to even, I don't know whether they know it or whether they don't, for the life of me, I don't understand what they're thinking. Because I read a budget of Buhari in 2023 of $47 billion. Buhari had a budget of $47 billion, 2023. And this budget is 30. So that is not ambitious. And I look at these people sometimes at the National Assembly and how they behave. It's like, how do they not know that this is a crisis? What is their plan? How do we get out of this? So, because when they did what they did that resulted in this calamity in our foreign exchange, they didn't seem to realize what they were doing. Now the budget is lower, they still don't realize it. So why should I have any hope now that this year, because of the Dangote refinery coming on stream and Port Harcourt refinery coming on stream and demand for the dollar coming down, the Nigerian naira should appreciate? My worry is that the government themselves will get in the way of that progress. You can't make it up. You really can't make it up. That I'm worried that the Nigerian government is going to get in the way of Nigeria progressing, because it should. based on the fundamentals, and that's how it should have when this government came into office. I thought President Tinubu is not Buhari. Buhari made some mistakes. Tinubu was going to fix everything, and he's going to be the greatest president in Nigeria. Because if he's going to remove fuel subsidies, in a way, it's taxing Nigeria. That is taxing Nigerians. You know that what the government has some money in his pocket now. The financial strain that the Nigerian government was in would have come down. But what did he do after that? He went and floated the Nigerian currency. By floating it, he damaged the economy, and he had to even go back to start paying fuel subsidies again. And because of that, now we are in the mess that we are in. Dangote Refinery has come on stream to try to ease the pressure. My worry is that they are going to repeat the same pattern again and even damage the prospect of that Dangote Refinery benefiting the Nigerian economy. That bothers me a lot. If they don't, Nigerians will start seeing a respite in the hardship, because if the foreign currency, if the Nigerian currency appreciates, the fuel price will come down. The more it appreciates, the more the fuel price comes down. And you know the federal government has increased civil servant salary recently. They will start feeling the benefit of that increase, because the Nigerian naira, can you imagine if the Nigerian naira got down to around $1 to 1,000 naira? That's going to be a significant change. And it should get down to that point if the Nigerian government allows it to happen. So it's up to the Nigerian government. If they want us to move forward, we are going to move forward. If they don't, they will sabotage the economy like they've always done. They are the ones holding the country back. These people, they have been elected into office to keep the country just alive enough not to collapse.
Okay, all right, forefathers, let me butt in at this moment. Do you think that the problem we have is a problem of a government intentionally reeling out policies, to affect its people adversely? Or is it a case of government not knowing what to do? When do we look at the problem?
I choose the former. The former is that it's deliberate at the very, very top. Maybe the others are not aware.
If it is deliberate, to what end? What do they stand to achieve?
Like I said, the idea is to keep the country just functional enough not to collapse, but never to progress. In other words, keep us where we are until those that control them come back and finish the job. That is their job. And these people, they don't seem to care. They don't seem to understand that this is an existential crisis we are in. How can you have 200 million people in your country and you can't secure your nation? And there are people out there without jobs. You can't recruit them to go and secure your nation. Nigeria is bleeding $50 billion every year due to insecurity. We've just read the amount that we are paying for insecurity. Why are they not responding to it? There are so many people jobless. The Nigerian state itself is one of the smallest states compared to its population in the world. The UK, the NHS has 2.something million workers. The Nigerian federal workers, do you know how much they are? 750,000. How can you run a state like that and you expect that country to progress? These people have not looked at the macro level of the Nigerian economy, how it operates. They are starving the country, like strangulating the country, pretending as if they are trying to help us. And the truth is that my concern is that what is going to happen next year, they are going to get in the way again, prevent the country from moving forward. Otherwise, as Nigeria is right now, it should be improving. Things should be improving, literally. Okay. It should be improving.
All right, thanks very much, forefathers. Now, let's bring in KJ into this conversation. KJ, the president, during the budget proposal, one of the highlights is that he's going to drive inflation down from the present at 4% to 15%. Meanwhile, the major reason why we have this inflation, apart from the exchange rate wahala and all of that, is the fact that food inflation itself is above 40%. You know what? We had a paltry 2% of our budget allocated to agriculture. What does that tell you? Hello, KJ.
It tells me that 2025 is going to be a more serious, challenging year to Nigerians than 2024. It tells me that the government is not yet serious what it's doing. And I mean, looking at the budget itself, you already know that we are planning to fail because your exchange rate, you've benchmarked at 1,400 naira to $1, which you know is not true in the actual sense. Again, you also benchmarked your crude at $75 per barrel. You forget to put into cognizance that Donald Trump is going to come into governance in America. And he has, one of his promise to his people is that he's going to drill, baby, drill. In other words, America is going to be oil sufficient or energy sufficient in the year 2025. That is further going to drive down the price of crude. Now, you also have gone ahead to say that you are benchmarking that you're going to produce 2.6 million barrels per day. You know it's not possible. You know these are lies you are telling yourself. You see, the problem that we're facing in the Nigerian economy is that the government itself are the agitants of, projecting things that are not true. And at the end of the day, when it comes to implementation, you find out that everything has failed. And that is where we are at. You see, let me tell you something. The unfortunate thing about it is that in this same budget, you're going to see, purchase of vehicles, purchase of kitchen utensils, purchase of, furnitures, and all that nonsense, which you don't even see on that. I mean, what stops a car that's supposed to last for years not last? And when they come in, they take away the cars. It's so unfortunate. It's not even heard of. I've not seen any congressman or senator here that has an official car given to the person by government. It doesn't happen. Who will spend that money for you? Okay, you come into government because you want to serve, not because you want to come and fleet the people. And the Nigerian people have constantly received this, keep quiet. It's time for us to go out and ask questions. Now, the budget may look, if I even looking at it, you already know that it's going to be problematic because majority of what they're going to earn next year, you're going to use to service debt. And you still have not stopped borrowing. You have not finished implementing the 2024 budget. You have not even ended the 2023 budget. So where we will be at in 2025, that's the pertinent question. How we're going to manage and navigate all that process. You see, let us tell ourselves the truth. Just like forefathers have said, it's like some people are just put there to manage a system until such a time that your puppet masters will say, okay, it's time to do this or do that. If not, are you seriously building a nation? Are you seriously building? And if you say you have come to change, you already have food insecurity, and you are putting 2% for agriculture, are you serious? I thought that after your budget of security, because you need to deal with security so that farmers can go to work or go to farm. Then the next one will have to be with agriculture, because you want to get everybody who's able-bodied working man and woman in Nigeria into the farms to make sure you produce your own food. But instead, you are more interested in other things that will not bring food. Are you also playing to to this system that we see that there are certain individuals who are interested in making Africa not be able to produce enough food to feed her people? So at the end of the day, we'll become beggarly into other nations. We must integrate these things and find out where our government is really leading us to. The difference with what we're talking about is here. The people who ask questions, they go to their representative and ask questions. I'll give you an example. Just 2 days ago or so, there was a budget they wanted to pass, and certain individuals in the government didn't feel it was right. They called and spoke about it on the internet and told the American people, call your representative and make complaint. The phones went wild. Everybody was calling. That bill was put down, in the House of Rep. That's how a government runs. Whether you like it or not, our people must have to bring pressure on this government to make them see how people are suffering and to make them be part of that suffering. You can't live in the heavens and be governing, people in hell. No, you can't do that. Okay, you can't be enjoying the people's money, being able to meet all your needs, and Nigerians are constantly sleeping. Look at what happened in Ibadan. Would that happen if people are feeding, being able to even eat one square meal? It wasn't happening. So every father, mother had to put their 5 children, if they have 5, or how many children they have, to go there and at least get 5,000. If 3 of them get 5,000, do 15,000, they can manage through the Christmas. That's what happened. You see, we know these things. The government know these things. And your people are living less than human beings, and you still continue to live as if you are one of, king of Saudi Arabia. I don't get it. And nobody's making any noise about it. It doesn't seem to worry anybody.
Quite unfortunate. And regarding the issue of the Stampede, it's curious to know that, look, it's actually hunger that drove a lot of people to that venue. And to think that a certain mother lost more than a child in that incident. It's heart-wrenching. Well, like Shegu said, and a couple of people have said, our hearts go out to those families. Now, let me bring you in, Flagship, at this moment. Flagship, you're a business person. I'd like for you to help us understand, because the budget details are not yet out, but we have some of the highlights. And one of the highlights we have is that a certain 9.4 billion naira is already earmarked, for foreign trips for the president and his vice, refreshments in Aso Rock, and all of that. And this is in a place where agriculture is getting only 2% of the budget. Please, can you help us paint a picture of how feeding will look like in 2025 for the average Nigerian?
I will hate to be a bearer of bad news. Unrealistic is what this budget is. You ask about how feeding would be in Nigeria, it will be gloom.
I also like you to factor in that there's a prediction that by June next year, about 133 million Nigerians will be exposed to acute hunger. Now, does it look like there's anything in this budget, looking at the highlights, that looks to reverse that trend before then?
With 2% allotted to agriculture, do you really see that as something that will take hunger out from Nigerians next year? It's not possible. There is no way this is possible. What this has spelled out to the Nigerian people is buckle up, tighten up the knots of your shoes, and get ready. If you still can run next year, it's going to be tough. There will be much, much more hunger in the land. Over 9 billion naira allotted to entertainment. You see, it's just the same.
And travels.
And travels. In America, they'll say same old, as in the same thing all over again. At this time, we should be thinking of cutting out wasteful spending, allotting those amounts that are budgeted to these unnecessary trips and entertainments to what would really help the people, agriculture and education. I'm happy that they are giving a huge chunk to security. Hopefully that will help. That is, if it's not given to the army generals and nothing that actually goes into securing the nation. The second or two top other things that should come top on the list, and as a matter of fact, a state of emergency should have been declared, should have been hunger or what do you call it, agriculture and education. Those two things demand a huge, in my opinion, 25% or more of the budget as it is right now. We are not producing, we are not educating ourselves to know what is going on out there and how to better ourselves. From the business standpoint, if you put more money to frivolous entertainments and little to what really sustains and keep the business going, you have just channeled your business in the direction of failure. All of the trips that were made last year, Mr. Chukuma, and maybe anybody else in the panel, tell me one result, productive result that was gotten out of it. For all the entertainments last year, tell me one productive result that was gotten out of it.
Flagship, the government says it attracted $30 billion FDI, that's foreign direct investment, into Nigeria.
Where are they?
That's the big question.
No, we have not. I think the best that they have done is sign MOUs out there when they travel. MOUs that they never read, nor understand. And they are not even informed that they'll be doing that on every or any trip that they take. No, we've not been able to see any one of those $30 billion that they said they've attracted. In his recent trip to Germany, he talked about securing a deal with Siemens to come and help with power generation in Nigeria. Have you heard or seen anything further after that? No, and we will not. 2025 is going to come and go. It will get worse for the Nigerian people, but get better for them. As it is right now, Nigeria is working for those who has failed it or made it fail. So it's not going to benefit the people in any way. 2024 budget, there's nothing good that we can write home or take home from it. No one benefit for the people, not one at all.
All right.
Rather, the nation getting far more into a deeper hole. So it's only going to benefit them and not the people of Nigeria.
All right, thanks very much, Flagship. Now let's bring Dr. Damages into this conversation. Dr. Damages, your co-panelists have painted scary pictures. I'm sitting here, I'm already scared about my life for 2025. Now, someone joked that, look, the person that brought out this quote that is there, that I can see a light at the end of the tunnel, says that person is very wicked. Why do you have to put the light at the end of the tunnel? Why don't you put it at the entrance? So looking holistically at the budget, do you see any light, whether at the entrance, in the middle, or at the end of the tunnel for Nigeria in 2025?
Thank you, Chukuma. People should listen to the president. I like how Shegun was suggesting that we should have budgeted $200 billion. The president knows what he's looking at in terms of the balance sheet of the country. And based on what he's looking at, he put out a budget. And that budget, people didn't pay attention to this figure. He said that last year they achieved a remarkable milestone, that they were able to meet 75% of their revenue targets, 75%. That is in 2024. So we don't know how much of that target this year. They are targeting this year 34.82 trillion. That's the revenue they are targeting. We don't know how much of that they will be able to meet. If they think that 75% was remarkable last year, maybe this year they won't even get close to that. So that would mean that apart from borrowing, the one they've acknowledged they are going to borrow, they are not even going to be able to raise enough money to implement what is in the budget. What should frighten Nigerians? I don't see any light anywhere. The president looked and said, oh, we are thinking that the Naira will appreciate to 1,500 to $1. That's the best he could say. Anybody looking for 1,000 to 1,000 Naira to $1 is wasting time. The president knows what he's saying. He knows there's no money, there's no resource, there's nothing to do. But what worries me, it's not a bad thing that the country, doesn't have money at this point in time. But what worries me is that we don't live as if we don't have money. Why are they changing the plates and the pots and the pan in Aso Rock? Why are they buying fax machine, scanners in the office of the chief of staff for 124 million or something like that? Outrageous. What kind of scanner are they using there that they have to change every year? So why are they paying 27 billion to take care of former presidents? These are not hungry people. If the country is poor, the country cannot provide one fire truck for every local government that will save lives. Why are you spending 27 billion to take care of Obasanjo and people who already are doing well for themselves? Why? Why is the president spending money buying cars again? I understand if you take over and maybe you don't want to use the one that the former president's been using, but this time, why are you buying another car? I'm driving a car that is up to 20 years. Why are you driving another car? I don't understand. So they are not living as if the country is in bad shape. So that's what we give you the sign. If you want to get any sign of where are we going to, it will tell you that these people are not serious about taking the country to the next level. They are not willing to make sacrifices. They expect you to make the sacrifices, but they are not willing to do that.
Okay.
Look at rice that is killing people now, people all over the country. Some months ago, they told us they are removing tariff on rice. They told us in things they are implementing to make sure that the price will come down. Did it come down? No, they can't even deliver on that. That simple thing. People will have been alive today because if rice had been dropped, even if they make that sacrifice and say, for this Christmas period, we want to get it to 40,000. They didn't, or whatever they put in place didn't work. They could not implement one single policy. And people are thinking about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not seeing anything. They are not serious people.
Quite unfortunate. Now, Flagship, let me come to you before I bring it back to the studio. Flagship, you are a business person. Now, this budget, the National Assembly has moved the budget cycle to June 2025. What it means is that the 2024 budget and the 2025 budget are going to run concurrently up until 2025. Now, that means, if you ask me, with my layman understanding of primary economics and budgeting, what it means is that both currents, as they are running concurrently, that there will be more money in the economy. Now, it is the same government that is proposing that two budgets run concurrently and in parallel lines, also telling you that they want to control inflation from the present at 4% to 15%. Is there any possibility, is there any economic margin that could make that happen? Please, can you help explain to the average listener at home?
Again, it is not. That's very ambitious, actually, from 34% to what, 15? With two budgets running concurrently even. How is that going to happen when you have so much waste on the table? There's no way that can be achieved. Look, in my business, what I have for this year, 2024, budgeted to run it from January to December, which is my own personal calendar year, I've expended it. If I say I want to extend it to next year's, I'm having surplus in my account. I shouldn't have any need for anything else because I have more money in my account to run everything that I need. There should not be any reason for any sort of lack anywhere. But in our case, it's not. It's just telling you that whatever is carried over from last year or 2024 to 2025, look, it's abracadabra. It's not going to be seen anywhere. There is no way that that's going to help inflation come down or improve the lifestyle or livelihood of Nigerians. All that they're just saying is more waste, more benefits to them, less for Nigerians. Like I said initially, there is not one benefit that any of their policies have ever shown and achieved for the people of Nigeria. And like Rudolph said, rice is a good example. That's prime. It's even going up. It's not coming down. This is the festive season. Many families are not even thinking of it again. Rice, which is the one common thing that everybody tends to go to in a festive season of this nature. So two budgets running concurrently is just a waste.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Flagship. Now,
there's 24.
Okay, thank you very much,
Flagship. Go to 25.
All right, thank you very much. Now, there's this, Shogi, you said something about tax reform bills. I want us to talk a bit about what this government might stand for. You know, you talked about the tax reform bill. I'm trying to ask a question whether this present government, that is the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whether he has the courage to trade where others did not. I mean, 3 former presidents tried to remove fuel subsidy. They couldn't. He came in, yanked it off. Now we are talking about tax reform bills. We are talking about local government autonomy. Look at what is happening both in Edo State and about allocations being paid to federal local governments direct. Look at the South East Development Commission, the Northeast Development Commission, and all of that. What again is it that look at the state police, you know, that they are talking about? I mean, 36 state governors have assented to it. Shegu, does it look like the president has a direction that people don't understand? If all these proposals sells through within the next 1 or 2 years, don't you think that he will have been able to change the trajectory of Nigerian politics, probably towards the end that Nigerians desire? Quick one.
Well,
and I'd like my diasporan audience, you know, the panelists to chime in on this question. I'd like all of us to have our takes. Some people believe that, look, there's a direction we are traveling, despite the fact that we are facing hardship now. But that with these policies, Obasanjo said, look, these policies are fantastic, but we have a problem with implementation. I would like to have your reaction.
No, I don't agree at all. I think that the primary purpose of governance and the primary purpose of government is the welfare of the people.
Okay.
Anything else is rubbish, with all due apologies for my strong language. If your policies do not take into consideration the impact on the ordinary citizen that those policies will have in the immediate, in the medium, and in the long term, then you have failed. If you want to implement reforms that will result in significant progress, let's say in 10 years, right? You must look at the immediate impact of those reforms on the lives of the people and plan to mitigate that impact, to ameliorate, to make sure it's not as bad as it could be. Even if that means maybe if you would have taken 1 year to do what you are planning to do, maybe you do it over a 3-year period and provide mitigating measures, in the intervening period. If you don't do that, it's a waste of time. Now, let me tell you something. All of this, in my opinion, and I'm sorry, with all due apologies to whoever thinks that maybe I'm being too hard, I don't see any difference. I don't see any change. If the president wants to be brave, right, state police is good. But it's not our fundamental problem. The fundamental problem of this country.
Help in fighting insecurity.
Of course
people have been clamoring for state police for the past 20 years or more.
It will. Okay. It will make a difference with security.
So do you see that as a bold step?
You could say so.
How about local government autonomy?
It's not bold enough.
How about local government autonomy?
These things are piecemeal.
Okay.
They're piecemeal. And the president that will change Nigeria, who will come in and live as a hero, cannot play politics with the things that need to happen. So this courage I'm seeing, supposedly, from the president, I wish that he would use it to address the core fundamental issues holistically.
Which is?
So now, the state police, local government autonomy is controversial. Some people, it's neither here nor there. You can have autonomy. You can never, look at all the administrative models across the world. The United States, thank God that we have the aspirants, on this conversation. The United States, the local government, the tier that is closest to the people, is not autonomous. They are tied to the state government. They do have elections and they have some measure of autonomy, but they're not completely independent. You can't have three. I don't know of any federal system that is based on 3 federating tiers of governance. It's the federal government, the state government, whatever you want to call it, regional, province, whatever. And then within those provinces and regions or states, the administrative divisions are left to those states and provinces to manage.
Okay.
So the point I'm trying to make is, if the president wants to change this country, look at the entire structure of the country in terms of economic structure, political structure, and push forward legislation that will make those changes happen, including constitutional amendments. Number 1, and most critical, let us reverse this idea of sharing money. That's one of the biggest reasons we're where we are. Nigeria can run a budget of $500 billion. $1 trillion, sir. $1 trillion. We can do that if we reverse the structure of our revenue model from sharing to contributing. Let the president push forward the bill. If he knows he's brave, I challenge him.
Okay.
Let him put forward the bill because it will scatter the political arrangement in this country. Let him put forward a bill that will say the federal government will collect 10% of revenues. Let him put forward a bill that will restore the control of resources to the states and then the ownership of the revenues from those resources to the states so that the states can make that money, administer their own territories, and contribute a token for the common administration of our shared services, immigration, national security, and all of those things. That's how federations are run.
Okay.
This one we're doing is an aberration. So all of this remove subsidy, float exchange rate, they're political, it's propaganda, it's gamesmanship. You are not making the fundamental changes that the country requires to make the kind of progress that we can make if we wish to. All
right, thanks very much, Shegu. Now, let me come to you, KJ, straight. I listed like 4 things now. Removal of fuel subsidy, local government autonomy, state police, tax reform bills, regional development commissions. Do you think that the president is courageous enough to take these steps? And in what direction do you think that he's traveling? Will it ever take us anywhere in the near future, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years? Quick one, please. And I would like all the other 3 panelists to chime in on this particular question so that we can save time.
the president will do well if he means well. It will work if they mean well. But you see, the haphazard way of implementing policies in Nigeria makes it difficult to have any meaningful result at the end of the day. If you take, for instance, the removal.
Do you agree? Do you agree that these policies are good policies?
They are good policies that can move the nation forward.
Okay.
Yes, they are good policies.
Okay.
You see, it's not lacking the ability to implement that. That's the problem. It is implementing well and making it go down. For instance, he had talked about the Oresia report. Till today, he's over 1 year in office. Have we seen anything done in that direction? No. So just mouthing it don't make it work. You see, the thing that the difference between us and other nations is that when they say it, they do it. If they don't want to do it, they won't say it. Okay? And if they want to do it, they implement to the letter. And anybody who is found wanting will be dealt with. That, you can't keep going back and forth. Today, the local governments are autonomous. Next, tomorrow, they are not. And one governor comes and wants to change the situation. It doesn't happen anywhere for people who are serious. So people who want to go somewhere with their country, it doesn't seem to be looking well for me. He has said he removed fuel subsidy, but are the Nigerian people better now? What has happened to the money that have come in from the removal of subsidy? We're yet to be able to know that. And I want to put it here. This is my opinion.
KJ, states are sharing more money now. States are getting more money from the federal, from FAC.
What has it? Have anybody benefited?
Is that the president's responsibility? He gives states money. Should he go and monitor the states on what they do with those monies?
I'm coming.
Should we hold the president accountable for what the states are unable to do?
No, but
I'm just asking.
Those projects that are supposed to be handled by the federal government are not being handled properly. That's what we're saying.
Okay.
He is the one assigning monies to those projects. If we are not holding the states accountable, but we can hold him accountable for bad roads, we can hold him accountable for no lights, we can hold him accountable for certain infrastructure that is not there. Okay, and so it behoves on the president to make sure that which is the federal function is.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much, KJ. Thanks very much. Let's bring in forefathers into this. Quick one, please. Hello, forefathers. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, please. Your quick reaction. It's a hot topic. It's a hot topic.
Yeah, it's regarding what is the precise question so I can...
No, the question is this. The president seems to be taking bold steps, He's traveling a trajectory that looks like some people have said will take Nigeria, to where we are desiring to be. Now, he's removed fuel subsidy. He's talking about local government autonomy, something that we have never expressed before. He's talking about tax reform bills. He's talking about state police. He's also talking about regional economic commissions. Do you think that the president is traveling a direction that will lead Nigeria to a better place in the next 4 or 5 years?
On paper, it appears that way. You can argue that state autonomy and policing, state policing, and all those areas will fix the problem. But there is a more fundamental problem. That's what everybody is.
What's the fundamental problem?
The fact that the direction of travel, they don't intend to change it. Because what is the use of having state police and all the rest when the national structure, when somebody can go and just trade the foreign exchange and the country goes into a tailspin? It can work. They talked about, you mentioned something about states getting more money. If I take 1 naira note from you and give you 3 naira notes, you have just been given less. Okay, let's say you give me 50 naira. I give you 3 notes of 10 naira. You have gotten less. That's what the states are getting. They are getting more money in terms of naira, but in terms of the value of the dollar, it's less. Let's not make the mistake of thinking that anything has increased in Nigeria. The Nigerian GDP almost halved when this government came in because of their actions.
Okay.
That is why it worries me that they are not serious. If Dr. Damage is correct, the president actually sees that the 1,050 naira to $1 is the best he can achieve. If that is the case, we're in a serious problem here.
All right.
Just 3. Okay, sorry, go ahead. I think you have other questions.
Yes. Thanks very much, forefathers. We are pressed for time, so we need to travel very fast now. Now, Flagship, can I have your quick take on this hot topic? Quick one, sir.
Well, I think if properly implemented and a good follow through and accountability are in place, yes, it will take us to where we need to be. But again, it is not just a tweaking of these policies and reforms. It is the people in government that do the implementation. The question is, do they really want it to work? if they get out of the way of these policies and reforms, then yes, it will take us to where we need to be.
Okay, good on paper. Good on paper. Thanks very much. Everybody seems to be agreeing, except one person, that these policies are fundamental. Okay. Now, Dr. Damages, quick one. Your quick take on this hot topic, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. The good book said, seek you the kingdom of God and other things will be given unto you. We are yet to seek the kingdom of God and we're expecting other things to be given unto us. It's not going to happen.
Dr. Damages, can you help us explain to us what the kingdom of God is at this point?
The kingdom of God is about restructuring the country. It's about restructuring the mentality.
What other restructuring are we looking at? I mean, we are talking about state police. We are talking about local government autonomy. We are talking about tax reforms that puts more money into the hands of states and local government.
Let me explain now.
Okay.
So something like the issue of tax bill. What are the problems they're having? They're having problems because the country is not restructured in such a way that a block.
Exactly my point. Isn't that part of the restructuring that we are talking about? State police is on the table.
State police, yeah. You know, I was wondering, they not turned around now to say they support the state police, and I'm thinking, when did we? They were the ones opposing it, saying that we are not yet mature. What happened? How did we mature between this and this period of time? So the point I'm making is that we are looking at. Let's say he achieved. Let's say that they finally succeeded in creating state police. Okay, that will be transformational. If we deal with the first thing, which is to have a structure in place because people have real fear about people like Wike having police at the federal capital and controlling the police at the federal capital. What he will do with that? Some governors, what they will do with that?
Shouldn't we be looking at strong institutions rather than strong individuals? I mean, Wike is not going to stay there forever. If we have a strong institution and you have somebody like that come into that institution, the institution will simply swallow the person. If that institution is stronger than that institution.
So the structure that we strengthen the institution. So for instance, if in America here, let me use as an example, there is local government police, there is state police, and there is FBI. So nobody's afraid of New York State Police. They can arrest me for something if it's not right. I know that apart from using the courts, the state police can overrule the New York City Police. The same thing with the FBI. They can come in if New York State Police and the state local police in New York City, if they are oppressing a group of people, the FBI can come in and override them. So those are the structures we need to put in place. What's happening now with the local government autonomy is that the governors are finding loopholes, back doors to control the local government, even though on paper we've said that they have autonomy.
All right, thanks very much, Dr. Damages. Now we'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll look at NNPCL's $1 billion stake in Dangote's refinery, which has sparked debate and controversy. Please stay with us, don't go away.
The gift of love.
The gift of joy.
The gift of laughter.
The gift of happiness.
The gift of peace. May all these and more be yours this Yuletide season.
Merry Christmas!
Season's greetings from the management and staff of Voice of the People.
All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. If you are just joining us, this is the Diaspora Perspective Show on Voice of the People TV. That's VOP. Now, NNPCL's $1 billion investment in Dangote Refinery has sparked controversy. Critics question the transparency of using public funds in a private venture, alleging favoritism and undermining competition. Now, supporters argue that the deal secures Nigeria's energy future by reducing fuel imports and stabilizing supply. As the refinery prepares for full operations, its impact on fuel prices and economic growth remains under scrutiny. All right, Shogu, quick one. Within the week, there was this back and forth between NPCL and Dangote Refinery. I mean, we gave you 20% of stake in equity in Dangote Refinery, which amounted to $2.7 billion. You were unable to pay the total amount. You paid only 1 billion. Because NNPCL said, no, we funded you, and Dangote Refinery said, you didn't fund us. It's an equity we gave, which you couldn't even take out. How do you think this, are we getting to know more about what happened, with Buhari commissioning the facility even before it came on stream? Quick one, can you help the average Nigerian understand what transpired between?
So what happened was that because as at that time, Dangote Refinery was supposedly the only functioning and the biggest refinery in the country. There's some other modular refineries that are working, but none of them come anywhere near close to the capacity of Dangote. Okay. So it became a national security question to say, look, these guys are going to be responsible for pretty much all of our entire local consumption needs. Does it make sense to ensure that government has a stake in it? So a conversation happened between Dangote and the government, and they agreed that, okay, we'll give you 20% ownership and all of that, and the payment arrangement was arrived at. The government defaulted, right? And we are now where we are, where the government has paid $1 billion. That $1 billion has given them title to 7.2% ownership in that refinery, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I don't have any problem with that because it's big. 650,000 barrels per day processing capacity. It's bigger than all of our refineries combined, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. But to now politicize it.
Exactly the point. I was coming to that. What is it that is taking a political angle?
It's ridiculous. It's not just politics. It's vested personal economic interests that is playing out right before our very eyes. And the things that we used to say were in the shadows have now come out. The faces and the names that we didn't know, they are bearing their fangs in public, broad daylight, and we don't even see it. The cabal that we say runs, the system, the oil and gas system in Nigeria, and makes it the most opaque sector of this country and the most corrupt, are the ones showing their faces. Why would the government spokesperson for a government-owned, let's not forget, NNPCL still belongs to Nigerians. So it's still a government organization in a way. The spokesperson then comes out to consistently speak against the biggest national interest investment and the biggest event in our economic fortunes in the last 40 years, consistently trying to drag them down and disparage them. Why is that happening? We need to ask ourselves this question. Right now, I think it was forefathers that said something, and I'm shocked that we're not looking at this as a country this way, that if Dangote begins to supply petrol, PMS, to Nigeria consistently, not as the sole provider, but as a significant provider because they have the capacity, and we no longer import, exchange rate will crash. Import of refined products account for over 40% of our entire import bill. Imagine if 40% of our dollar bills disappear. Just imagine what that will do. Our naira will gain value significantly. And yet, the government is not pursuing this as a matter of national interest, national energy security policy. They should be pushing for Dangote to supply petrol to the entirety of Nigerians, regardless of the monopolistic risks that might entail. Provide some sort of level playing field for everybody else that can provide, but stop importing petrol. And yet, we continue to import till today, in spite of the fact that we have a local refinery that can meet all of our import needs. Guess where some of that importation is coming from? 30% of the importation of PMS into Nigeria comes from Malta. And we all heard, the documents are out there on the internet, who the owners of the blending facility and refining facility in Malta are. So that is what we're seeing playing out before us, is a situation where personal vested interests are overriding national interest and the common good. And it's very, very sad. We can achieve so much more with what Dangote has done, and we're just simply not touching it because some people's personal interests are going to be trampled upon.
All right, thanks very much. Now, let's bring you in here, the flagship. The flagship, you are a business lead person. Please, can you help us understand? Is it good that a government invests in a privately owned enterprise? Do you have that kind of model in the United States? Or is there any part of the world where you know that kind of model has operated efficiently and effectively to the benefit of the people? Quick one, sir. Hello, flagship, I can't hear you. Flagship, I can't hear you. Okay. Now let me come to you, KJ. KJ, we understand some people have alleged that this present administration isn't forthcoming on the Dangote refinery issue. I mean, the 1.7 balance was supposed to have been paid off, so that the equity, the 20% equity could be owned by Nigeria. But some people have alleged that, look, this present government is not forthcoming because, according to them, the person in the center of the drama, in the eye of the storm, didn't support the president in his presidential ambition. Does it look like politics is coming in the way of our economic interest, national economic interest, as a matter of fact? What's your reaction?
I would say it's not about politics coming in. Politics have always been part of what I've decided policies in Nigeria. That's why we seem to be going back and forth in so many things. When NNPC became NNPC-CL, did we all know about it? Did you bid for it, Mr. Chukuma? Were you given the opportunity to bid because now government property wants to become public? No, we just woke up one day and they were told that the company is now privately owned. They appointed who is running it, and what came about it, the Nigerian people still don't know till today. It is being held in secrecy. Even when this money being given to Dangote refinery was first started, it was said that Nigeria was going to be part of it, all of it, then eventually became half of it, then it became part of it, then eventually came to 20%. So all of whatever has gone on has been done in secrecy. And right now, you cannot borrow money to NNPC, borrow Dangote money, and Dangote is not saying it's not correct. What you said, this is so you can see the back and forth, and I'm praying that this back and forth will continue because it's to the benefit of the Nigerian people. Let me tell you, the day that Dangote will decide to speak, the day he will decide to speak, that the day he decides to take up this fight and fight this government to a standstill, you will see that even he...
KJ, Dangote has been talking. Dangote said that the cabal in the oil industry is more powerful than the cabal in the drug business.
No, Mr. Chukudi, the man has not made up his mind to fight. And I'm telling you, when he makes up his mind to fight, he will hear the real price of Nigerian crude and the Nigerian...
Is there a possibility that he will ever make up his mind, considering the fact that some people allege that he has benefited unduly from what is called the Nigerian state, much more than any other businessman in Nigerian history? Do you think he will ever have that courage to fight any government that comes into power?
I agree that I'm one of those who felt that he has benefited and even much more than any other person and have been favored greatly. But you see, a time comes when there's a king that does not know Joseph, and that time is drawing very close. And when it gets to that point, then every man has to be for himself. And that's what it's getting to. The truth of the matter remains, there's so many secrecy that is held between Dangote and the NNPC that the Nigerian people need to know. The truth, like I said earlier, is that Dangote is just being a gentleman, but not coming out. If not, why will you be told what to sell your fuel, your petrol on? Why do you have to tell them? Why do you continue to play in the prices of gas and, as you call it here, petrol and all the other stuff? And since you say it is now a free market, now why do you also have to try to keep the man within a certain confinement of business just to and then just like the gentleman in the studio said, why do you want to constantly challenge this person who has tried to make life a bit more meaningful for Nigerians? You are constantly hammering on the quality of what he's doing and what he's not doing. You have other regulators. You have not been able to stop oil theft in Nigeria, Nigeria is the only country where crude oil is being stolen. You have not done that. You have not been able to even regulate the ones you are selling to the point that Nigeria can be beneficial to Nigerians. But you are concerned about an individual who has a company running his own business by himself. It's quite unfortunate. It leaves a lot for us to imagine. Because why are you concerned? After all, Nigerians need. You have told us how many millions of tons of petrol that Nigerians consume in a day, and this guy has come to help with these things. But instead of you minding your own business and letting him run his business, every day you're concerned about making sure that you are trying to put, a spanner in his wheel. I don't think it's in good faith. I think there's more to be, to be let out to the public. I think Dangote should make up his mind and come to this fight full force and let Nigerian people know the exact price of gas or fuel in Nigeria. That will help us. That will also turn around the economy. If they're looking for a way to turn around the economy very quickly, they should give Dangote a level playing ground. And any other person who is interested in bringing, trading in fuel, allow them to trade in fuel and let us see how it will be for Nigerians if they can't really feed themselves.
All right. Thanks very much, KJ. Now, let me bring you in here now, forefathers. Does it look like KJ said something about anytime he wants to fight, that he might fight mercy? Now, does it look like the fight has already started? When a Port Harcourt refinery rolled out, they said that their own fuel is going to sell at 1,050 naira. And that was above what Dangote was offering. At a point, Dangote came down to 970. And at last count, Dangote has come down to 899 naira per liter. Does it look like the fight has already started? And what does that tell you about competition and having more refineries? Is there a possibility that if you have more refineries, that the price of fuel, that the pump price of fuel will ever go back to, okay, even if it doesn't go back to 220 where it was before, will it ever get to like 300, 350? Is there a possibility that that can happen? And do you think that the fight has already started?
I think Dangote has made everything clear in the open. Talked about how they provide dangerous petrol into the country. Talked about how it will save Nigeria significant amounts of money, percentage in foreign exchange demand. If just for that single one alone, that foreign exchange demand, because it affects our foreign exchange and goes on to have knock-on effect on cost of living in Nigeria. The Nigerian government should have done everything. They should be protecting Dangote refinery and supporting it with everything they have right now. But do you see them doing that? They are not. Because we like to think that this is about business. There is something else going on here. Because they are all getting poorer out of this. The UK spends about 1.5 trillion US dollars on the economy every year for 60-something million people, about 66 million people. They spend that every year. You don't even see the street paved in gold. But yeah, these people, these our leaders, they go on to run the economy the way they are doing, and we think this is normal. This is completely abnormal behavior. They are quite educated people. The people is not uneducated. They're all well-schooled people. But yeah, look at how they are operating. They are not operating like people that want to even enrich themselves. Do you think this is wealth? They cannot compare themselves to the wealthy people all over the world. They are getting poorer and poorer every day. They are running economy to the ground. They are now sharing about $30 billion, which they borrowed a significant amount of that money to spend on their people. Our people live like animals. Many of our people, the standard of living is so terrible. These people are not operating in the interest of the country. Whomever they are listening to, they are trying to make sure the Nigerian economy don't become industrialized. That is the key. If we never become industrialized, we are going to remain in backwater until they come and put us out of our misery. And this is why I am here. My issue is an existential threat issue. This is not about one money food today, tomorrow. I'm looking at the day when the day of reckoning for all this nonsense our leaders are doing to us, when the punishment will come.
Okay.
Because the rest of the world is advancing technologically, industrializing, moving faster and faster away from us. And we are still here arguing about supporting a local refinery. If it was the Nigerian government, I would put that 20%. Because whatever profit Dangote makes, Nigerian government makes it. Whatever foreign exchange Dangote makes, Nigerian government makes it. Then discourage use of the foreign exchange in Nigeria. If you discourage the use of foreign exchange, in other words, the Nigerian naira value will increase, and people's life will automatically get better because things will be cheaper to buy.
All right. Thanks very much, forefathers.
In that country anymore.
Thank you very much, forefathers. Now, I don't know, Flagship, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I asked a question. Nigeria invested certain amount of money in a private business, and I'm asking you, Was it the right thing to do, being a private initiative? And is there any model, either in the United States where you live or in any part of the world, where you see a state invest in a private enterprise? And has it ever worked? Briefly, can you help us understand, please?
Well, it may not be direct investment from the state or the nation itself, but they can subsidize. When we had the recession the other time, Obama did give Ford Motors some money and GMC, and that was because they were crashing out of business. And as soon as they got back up, they paid the money back. So if
okay, you're talking about bailout funds.
Yes, the bailout money, yeah. It really may not be direct investment. But yes, the government can get involved because it's for the betterment of the people. There are cars that are being manufactured, easy access to the people. So in the case of Nigeria, what's at play here is the interest of those with those refineries that are abroad, where petroleum is being refined, is what's at stake. Dangote has brought a product or has made it easier for Nigerians to get this product at a cheaper rate, but it is now beginning to affect those that are importing it. Can you imagine what it would look like if all 4 refineries are working? It gives Nigerians the power of choice, and it would drive down the price of gas or petrol in Nigeria to a significantly low level, which will, of course, increase our foreign exchange in Nigeria. So yes, there's more behind the scene that is going on. And at this point, we're waiting. We're just hearing them little by little coming out. And I hope that Dangote stand up and face these guys head on in this fight.
All right, thanks very much, Flagship. Now, Dr. Damages, let me come to you now. Some people have said that, look, it's not because the government doesn't have money, the balance of 1.7 billion, to invest in Dangote refinery. It's just because they didn't want to do it. On whose side are you? What do you think?
Before I address that, let me point out that in Brazil, they have this system where they have the public investing in the national oil and gas company, the Petrobras, and it's successful. In Nigeria, we have the NLNG.
Sorry, Dr. Damages. Are you talking about public subscription, the public investing? We are talking about the state as an entity investing in a private enterprise.
Yeah. I'm just trying to point out that both ways could work. If in America, what happens here is that you have funds. So like retirement funds for the state of or city of New York, it's invested in public companies. So the state itself, they don't really have money the way we have money in Nigeria. The state, New York State has no money. But they collect taxes and take care of things. They don't have money to invest. But they use funds that are public funds, like for workers and invest in companies. So these companies now are accountable to the people who are investors. So if the retirement account of workers in New York City is in a company like Tesla, they are shareholders in Tesla. So the Tesla will now be accountable to them, So things like that do happen, and it helps to make sure that companies, you don't have people like NNPC. What NNPC is doing, I don't understand, why NNPC is not transparent. NNPC is not even they defaulted. Whatever deal they have with Dangote, they defaulted. And the reason why they do these things is not that they're not transparent. Nobody knows what they're doing until there's a fight. We come to hear certain things. This is something that should be public. If they are owned by the Nigerian people should know what is NNPC doing. Sometimes I hear them announce that, we have this profit, billions or trillion. Then the next day they are owing. It doesn't make sense. People should be able to understand what the government companies that belong to us. We should know what they are doing. What was the question again? I forgot what you said.
The question is, some people say that the government is it that the government doesn't have the money to, that's the balance of 1.7 billion, or is it that they didn't want to invest again out of
this? It was NNPC. It was NNPC.
For whatever reason, NNPC is owned by the federal government.
I know, but they operate as if they are independent. They are on their own. But the point
How
is
independent are they?
Yeah, but they borrow money. They borrow money and they do things nobody can explain. Why is NNPC doing this? Even outside their scope of what they should be their business. That's what I'm saying. We need transparency in government, in every facet of the government, so that people will understand and hold them accountable. Nobody knows. I heard that their books are not audited for many, many, many years, and it was okay for lawmakers. It was okay for the country. This is the people that is responsible for most of the money we make in the country. You say their books are not audited, and it's okay. It's unbelievable. So I think they have the money. If they have the will. Even if they don't have the money, they go to the president, whoever is the president, said, look, this is the strategic importance of this. We need this money. They can borrow, and they've been borrowing. Giving out crude and borrow money even for the government. So there's no reason why they can't do that. It's just that we don't care,
All right. Thanks very much, Dr. Damages, and thank you, your co-panelists. Now, let's get into the last topic of discussion, which is the Edo Assembly suspends 18 local government chairman. Now, the Edo State House of Assembly has suspended 18 local government chairmen over allegations of financial mismanagement and inefficiency. The lawmakers cited widespread complaints about their failure to deliver on development projects and maintain transparency in governance. Now, the suspension announced during a plenary session underscores the Assembly's intent to uphold accountability at the grassroots level. A committee has been set up to investigate allegations and all of that. Oh, well. It's good to understand that a court in Edo, in Benin City, also reversed that suspension after the Attorney General of Nigeria, Fabemi, said that, look, no governor, House of Assembly, has the power to suspend or dissolve a validly elected local government council. Now, what's going on in Edo State? And the question is this. What does that portend for our democracy? Shegu, I'll start with you. And I'd like you just talk briefly about it and end with your concluding thoughts on the topics that we talked about. Quick one, because you are pressed for time now.
Sure. So what's happening in Edo State is, for some reason, there is a gap. So right now, I think we have a constitutional lacuna. We've got some sort of, there's a pronouncement from the Supreme Court that says that, first of all, governors must not touch the monies allocated directly to local governments. And no governor, and governors must conduct elections, right?
To be able to access funds.
To be able to access those funds and to be able to distribute them to the various local governments. However, the Supreme Court did not say whether the governors, having conducted the elections, have the powers or not to remove those local government chairmen. We presuppose that since they're elected, they cannot be suspended. It's like somebody coming and saying that you want to suspend the governor of a state. In order for you to do that, the constitutional provision is that you must declare a state of emergency, or then you move provisions for impeachment. Okay. So if you want to remove this local government chairman, impeach them. They were elected. However, the Constitution did not make that provision clearly. In fact, the Constitution, actually, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not pretending to be. But if you ask the lawyers, they will tell you the section of the Constitution where it gives power of oversight and administrative control over local governments to the state governors, through the State House of Assembly.
Now, the question is that power for oversight, does it include suspension and dissolution?
It doesn't say. That's the problem. So right now, I think the very, very good thing that has happened is that the local government chairman and Algon has gone to court. A court has suspended this, and I personally hope and pray that this goes to Supreme Court level, so that lacuna can be fixed via a pronouncement of court, since legislation has not addressed it. So I think that's that. Now, in terms of my closing, you said we should also give
concluding thoughts
over everything, right? I believe that, look, one of the biggest problems that we have with this country, two things. One, transparency, impunity in governance, and a very docile, very weak citizenship. We need to wake up and start asking the questions that need to be asked. My brothers that are, speaking from the diaspora, they will attest to what I'm saying. Public officials in the United States, in the United Kingdom, in France, in Germany, they're afraid. They're scared stiff of the public. They're scared stiff when the public starts talking. And, we have these types of conversation on TV, and we start saying certain things. You will see that very quickly, the public officials will quickly sit up and try to address it. Because once that thing gains momentum, they can be removed from office.
All right,
so we need to get to that state where we can hold our public officials accountable so that we can get the benefits of governance. Right now, some people are just having a free ride at the expense of everybody else.
All right, thank you, Shegu. Now, let me come to straight flagship. Edo House of Assembly suspended local government chairman. The chairman went to court, and a court reversed that suspension. Now, what do you think that portends for our democracy, considering that we're already talking about local government autonomy? Can I have your quick reaction, and now your concluding thoughts on the topics that we talked about? Quick one, like 60 seconds, sir.
Right. I won't take long. You know, it bemoans me to see how democracy is being practiced in Nigeria. Here's what I have to say. Adams Oshomole gave the antidote to this kind of back and forth theatrical show that they are putting up. Switch parties, go to the APC, and all your sins will be forgiven, and things will run smooth from then on. Save the Edo people the trouble, and do what is right. As far as my last comments, you know, the budget that has just been presented to the House by the president, I think right after the presentation was made, Adams Oshomole was interviewed and was asked about the timeline for which they're going to review this budget in the House. And he said there's no way that they can do it anytime soon. It is expected to be sometime in January. But to my surprise, in less than 24 hours, it's gone through first reading and is in second reading at the moment. This just makes a joke of what our system is, and the fanfare that they put up there when the budget was being presented. Like the panelist in the studio said, our people have been very docile. I think we need to wake up and begin to challenge these politicians that we have that are represented.
All right, thank you very much, Flagship. Now to you, forefathers. Something is happening in those states. Does it look like we are getting to a point where the local government will be autonomous?
I think it just might be the case. What they did, the state assembly, they forget that there are constitutional powers that are associated with the state, this is local government. There's some powers. I think the democracy is functioning the way it's meant to because the court struck it down, and so that balance is being redressed. Regarding a message for the people. I think everyone has said so far regarding this topic that the people of the country should be more aware of what is going on within the center. And I can see, even in the Nigerian state itself, that the government do respond when the people really move. They do respond. You see that happen. And it would be a crazy government in any country that they don't respond when the people move, because the people will eat them alive. So, all right. So your concluding thoughts, please. Your concluding thoughts. Yeah, my concluding thought is that they should challenge everything in the Nigerian space right now. Challenge everything until they are proven to be good for the people. And no elder should just tell us that we should accept anything. We should challenge it, and we should hold our head up more in pride, because Nigeria is very important. And I see a spate of events that have been occurring recently that has been a kind of putting the country down and the people down. We forget that we are an important people in this world, and we have to start holding our head up and challenging the establishment. Otherwise, there will be consequences. That's what I would say. I will encourage our people to not be afraid of anything. Challenge what is going on in the country right now, because there's room for us to grow. And all right, thank you very much. The country is going to grow. All right, thank you very much for that. Now, KJ, if the country grows, we are all going to benefit for it in the near future. All right, thank you very much, forefathers. Now, KJ, let me come to you. Do you like what is happening in Edo State? I mean, House of Assembly suspended local government chairman, and a court reversed it. Do you like what's going on? Quick one. And your concluding thoughts, sir. My quick take on it is, please, someone should tell the governor of Edo State that you cannot fire who you didn't hire. The people who hired, the people who are the chairman of those local governments, he doesn't have the power to fire them. That's a simple management law. So I don't you don't even need to go to school to learn that. It's unfortunate that he gets into that. Then my final take, you see, look, just like our brother in the studio said, we have to wake up. People need to ask people questions.
if you let them, even if they found themselves in a position why you didn't put them, but they are in the office, please ask them what they're doing with your money. Please ask them what they're doing. Continuously to ask until you get the desired answer. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, KJ. Now back to you, Dr. Damages. Can you give us a satire about what is going on in Edo State?
Yes, I like what's going on. It's very important that should happen. I really like it. I don't know why people are having issues with that. Let the courts rule any way they like. Throw it out, accept it, throw it, until we get to the Supreme Court, and then they will rule, and then we know for the first time, everybody will agree, okay, this is how we do it. Nobody should fire anybody. Let's get to the Supreme Court. I don't think it's a problem. That's how democracy should work, so people should not worry about that. What I wanted to say about concluding, in the final analysis, we have to embrace the best practice. 400 years ago, we didn't know what the white people were doing, where they came from, and they came to Africa and stole our people and took them abroad, and we didn't know. We will be forgiven. Those people who were living at that time will be forgiven for not knowing. But now, we can be forgiven for knowing how things are done all over the world, and we are not embracing it. Nobody's telling us to reinvent the wheel. Just copy. Just copy. All these are governors, they've been abroad. They know that when they go to a hall where there's an event, there is police, there's security, there is paramedics, there is emergency system. You can call for an emergency. If it's not available where you are, scream until they put it in place. They should do it. We won't be forgiven for not doing it because we know that it's the standard all over the world. That's all I have to say.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Damages. Now, before we leave, let's take some quick comments, from our viewers. And Tu Niger says, greetings. Oh, greetings to you, Tu Niger. We have Elliot Ono. And I find Nigerians asking me, when am I coming back home? Meaning Nigeria. Come to Nigeria and do what? A country I left 49 years ago. Oh, well, Elliot Ono, you might be missing a lot if you are not coming back to Nigeria, because we have been here in Nigeria for more than how many years? And like we say, we die here because this is the only country that we have. Nigeria is the only country. And we have to remain here and salvage it together. Thanks very much. Elliot Ono says again, talking about Nigerian budget, and Nigerians are led to believe that Nigeria is the giant of Africa. What giant? Right now, the Nigerian economy is the fourth largest in Africa. Oh, well, at least if we are number 4, that means we are doing better than more than 49 countries. So we remain a giant. Chok says, Damages, not all next level is positive. There are some next level in reverse too. Okay. One regional said, Senate proposes bill to ban the use of foreign currency in Nigeria. 2025 budget, Nigeria announces for 7.9 trillion naira with a proposed 13 trillion naira borrowing. Yes, that is what it is. Do you have a problem with that? You didn't say. One regional also says, naira devaluation, high tax brackets, hyperinflation and weak naira purchasing power, plus 110% ministerial and admin post-salary increase and voodoo subsidy suffer head. Oh, well, I don't know what you mean by that. Tinubu said the issue of restructuring naira is too early versus VP Shetima, Nigeria is structuring my food. Anyway, that's your opinion, not the opinion of VOP. Petrol, naira voodoo, your opinion. Nigeria petrol, naira voodoo, oh, well, your opinion. That's all we can take from comments made by our viewers at home. Now, this is where we have to wrap up this show. I've been speaking with Mr. Shegu Shokwito, Chairman, Accountability Candor and Transparency Network. We also had Dr. Damages. Dr. Damages joined from New York. He's a satirist, writer, journalist, and an adjunct professor at the School of Visual Arts in New York City. We also had Flagship. Flagship is a clinical research operations lead and business entrepreneur based in Atlanta in Georgia. We had KJ. KJ is in the media production. He's also an expert in training and joined from Maryland in United States of America. We also had Forefathers. Forefathers joined from UK. And he's an engineer with interest in geopolitics and international politics. Oh, well, this show, like you know, comes up every Saturday between 3 to 5 p.m. West African Standard Time, West African Time, and 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our page. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms at VOP TV Live. You can also visit our website for more trending stories, quite interesting stories. We are at www.vop.ng. Now, this is the last show we'll have before the Yuletide. And like I said earlier, we use the opportunity to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, not just to our panelists, but to our viewers worldwide. I've been your host for the past 2 hours, and on behalf of myself and the backroom staff, that's the tech people, the producing department, and all of that, we say, once again, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And thanks for being on this show. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thanks for coming on this show. Bye for now.